Be careful what you wish for is the tagline for 1997's Wishmaster, the last true fairy tale slasher of the 90s, and they may have saved the best for last, but that might be wishful thinking. The Leprechaun, Pinocchio's Revenge, and Rumpelstiltskin all derive from European folklore, but tonight's tale, it comes from the Middle East. Long before Freddy, Jason, or Michael, there were Djinn, supernatural beings born of smokeless fire, pulled straight out of ancient Middle Eastern myth. And these Djinn aren't your Disney genie types. They were blamed for possession, madness, vanishing people. They whispered secrets, twisted desires, and delighted in suffering, often just out of view. Honestly, it's perfect folklore for horror. But how did it translate to the big screen? Well, I think the Djinn is the most underrated horror villain of the 1990s, and I'll prove it. And speaking of horror villains, you're not gonna believe all the cameos. Seriously, this cast is stacked, and we're talking horror icons here. So without further ado, let's get into it. The story behind Wishmaster begins, appropriately, with a wish from a producer. Writer Peter Atkins, best known for his work on the Hellraiser sequels, was approached by a former New World Pictures exec who wanted a genie horror film. Atkins initially turned it down, thinking the idea sounded a bit ridiculous, but once he realized that the job was his to lose, he quickly changed his tune. He admitted to doing the bare minimum amount of research. Sometimes that's all it takes. But the real magic started when Robert Kurtzman came aboard to direct. Kurtzman, co-founder of K&B FX, was already a legend in the special effects world. And because this film is so effects heavy, it made total sense to put an FX guy behind the camera. The film opens with someone forging our MacGuffin, a mysterious blood-red jewel. Cue the narration.
Once in a time before time.
I don't know why, but opening narrations never do it for me. But hey, at least it's read by Angus Scrimm, the tall man from Phantasm. Boy, I would have loved to have seen Angus Scrimm play a role, but I guess his voice is better than nothing, so I'll let it slide. Then we get that early CG establishing shot. Now, am I the only one who thinks this looks like a PS2 cutscene? A Persian noble makes a wish, and surprise, surprise, it backfires hard. People mutate, bones snap, chaos erupts. It's a full-on special effects freakout, and honestly, it's awesome. My favorite part is this poor guy literally crawling out of his skin. This whole sequence has Cabin in the Woods energy. It's awesome. Eventually, a sorcerer intervenes and traps the Djinn in the ruby. Unfortunately, the CG in the scene hasn't aged as well as the makeup. It's rough, but the setup works. We jump forward to the modern day. A wealthy collector, Mr. Beaumont, played by Robert Englund himself, is receiving a shipment of rare artifacts. Robert Englund is a horror god known by all as the actor who portrayed Freddy Krueger, the man of my dreams. It's so nice seeing him act without a ton of makeup on his face. And hey, he's not the only horror legend in this scene. There's Ted Raimi, the brother to Sam Raimi who made the Evil Dead films. Now, Ted Raimi's made a name for himself in the horror genre too, with small roles in Candyman, Midnight Meat Train, and how could you forget Blood Rage? Ted Raimi didn't even bother reading the script for Wishmaster. He was just good friends with director Robert Kurtzman and showed up to have some fun and meet his end in spectacular fashion. And it is spectacular fashion because in the chaos of the scene, a crane accidentally crushes poor Teddy Pooh and the ruby is discovered within the wreckage. The gem eventually makes its way to an appraisal lab where we meet our final girl, Alex, played by Tammy Lauren. She wipes a smudge off the stone and, oops, she releases the Djinn. The ruby gets sent to another lab where they scan it with a laser because 90s science, I guess, and the Djinn finally escapes. Unfortunately though, Alex's best friend and possible love interest is the first to go. And this extermination scene is pure Hellraiser. Flesh reconstruction, dripping goo, the works. Too bad they keep cutting away to Alex's reaction instead of just showing us the goop. I love goop! From here, the Djinn walks the earth, twisting people's words and granting fatal wishes. And oh yeah, Reggie Bannister from Phantasm shows up, and then he quickly leaves. The Djinn's mission? To get Alex to make 3 wishes, but he's not shy about granting a few extra departures along the way.
I claim that which is owed.
My favorite encounter is when the Djinn meets a security guard, played by Kane Hodder, Mr. Jason Voorhees himself. Kane holds his own too.
I want you to leave. No. I have to get inside.
So the Djinn turns around and walks away.
Well, now you'd have to go through me, and that is something I would love to see.
Kane, you almost had him! The Djinn obliges with some awful CGI. Thankfully, Alex is a competent and observant final girl. Could you imagine if the Djinn was released by literally anyone else in this movie? Yikes. Eventually, Alex confronts the Djinn and realizes what she's up against. This leads her to Beaumont's party, where we get yet another horror icon, Tony Todd at the door, doing Candyman proud. This final act is mayhem. The Djinn unleashes hell at the party. Souls ripped apart, bodies bent in ways they shouldn't bend, and Alex must figure out a way to beat him using only her words. Can she make the perfect wish to trap the Djinn again? Or will she doom everyone around her? Find out in Wishmaster. Time has not been the most kind to a lot of what Wishmaster was trying to do, but for its time, Wishmaster was a surprisingly ambitious production. It has the biggest budget of any fairy tale slasher, and while it didn't land A-list stars, it's absolutely packed with horror legends. Englund, Raimi, Todd, Scrim, Hodder, and Bannister. Even the people at K&B got to join in on the fun and played many of the special effects monsters. Even the director, Kurtzman himself, shows up. He's the guy who gets piano wired to death. They shot the scene in reverse using a mold of his own head, and it's gnarly. Speaking of K&B, they are the only reason that this film was able to be shot so quickly. They shot it in just 33 days. That only worked because so many K&B FX artists were multitasking, handling makeup, creature effects, and even assistant directing. Wes Craven was brought on as an executive producer to give the film some name value. He didn't do much though. Showed up a few times during editing, but his name on the poster definitely helped. While gore and goop is nice, the main star was the Djinn himself. Kurtzman didn't want to make another Freddy clone, so he leaned into the majesty and mystique of the ancient Djinns. It works. Though if I had to be a little nitpicky, I'd say the final form of the Djinn isn't my favorite. It looks too polished, too smooth, makeup too evenly applied. I actually prefer the grosser, halfway there versions.
Careful what you whisper.
Andrew Divoff, who plays the Djinn, is the film's MVP. With all these horror icons in the mix, Divoff still manages to steal the show. His performance is part Candyman, part Freddy, and part Pinhead, yet uniquely his own, balancing theatrical monologues with creepy charisma. Even Kane Hodder called him,
"He can be a creepy guy, man."
Wishmaster definitely shares some DNA with Rumpelstiltskin. Ancient evil sealed away, reemerges in modern day, and wreaks havoc. But Wishmaster learned from its fairy tale cousins. It's faster paced, gorier, and so much more fun. And sure, it's got some flaws. The CGI is dated, some of the editing feels choppy, and it definitely loves its extreme close-ups. But there's just something charming about its practical effects, attention to detail, and its love for the genre. And audiences adore Wishmaster as well. There was a small theatrical run, but it absolutely exploded on the home video market, and there were 3 sequels made. The first sequel, Evil Never Dies, has Divoff reprising his role of the Djinn, and I remember enjoying that one quite a bit. The last 2 sequels had the Djinn recast, which was a huge mistake. Divoff made the Djinn, and it's no wonder why the latter 2 films failed. Wishmaster probably had the most potential out of all of the fairy tale slasher films. The lore of the Djinn was already perfect, and it could learn from the failures of the previous attempts. While it's not a perfect film or a timeless classic, Wishmaster very much fulfills its niche and is the best example of its subgenre.
Going my way.
I'm not sure why there was such a rush to make fairy tale slasher films in the 90s, but I'm glad it happened. Usually lighthearted and fun, these films can be remembered fondly. If we don't get any more original takes on the fairy tale slasher subgenre, then these films may eventually go down as just fables. And that's all I have. So thank you so much for tuning in. And stay spooky, everyone. Thank you so much for watching the Fairy Tale Slasher retrospective. It was a lot of work, but on to newer and better things. In 2 weeks, we're getting the Clive Barker compilation, so that will be fun. And then after that is October, and I have some fun plans for that. It's a sequel to a previous October, so it'll be a blast. If you want all of that sooner, feel free to become a YouTube member. Outside of that, that's all I have. So again, thank you so much, and bye.